So yeah, so let me introduce myself. I'm Ani, your host for today, and I'm very excited to have you all here. So let's wait a couple of minutes to have more people joining, then we can start. So Matthew, Jacob, I wanted to ask, as the summer is ended and new season is coming, do you have any plans for your workshops that you are doing?
So I'll be coming back to Armenia in October, and I'll be staying in Armenia until the end of the year. So I guess, yes, now it's a good time to kick back the workshops. I mean, it's already been a while, and now is the time. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just talking to myself a minute ago because I was on mute. I was saying, yes, we have a lot of projects, we have a lot of ideas. Remote work in Armenia is something we really want to push, because it's good for everybody. It's good for the economy. It's good for people in underserved regions, rural regions, and people who are usually outside the classic workforce profile, like people who are caring for others, single parents, etc. It's wonderful for all of these categories of people, and I mean, Matthew and I, we just love our lifestyles, and
Yes,
this is
it's
really
really
something that we want to share with the world.
Yeah, this is truly appreciated, I believe. You're doing a really great job, and I'm looking forward for your more workshops. So
Thank you.
let us start step by step. So let me introduce a little bit myself. I would like to start by telling shortly my story. So I spent the last 5 years working as a freelancer. I collaborated with incredible international companies, from small businesses to unicorn startups. And the freedom that freelance and remote work offered has allowed me to grow really both personally and professionally. And that's why I'm very excited to share and support others in this space. And basically, this passion led me to Native Teams, which is a service that truly resonates with me because it's created specifically for freelancers. And I'm very excited to be here today as we are going to dive into some exciting topics in ever-changing world of remote work, and we will be discussing the latest trends. We will explore some strategies to stay ahead of the curve, and of course our speakers will share some valuable insights on how to scale your freelance income. And saying this, I want to introduce our amazing speakers, and we're honored to have them. So first we have Matthew, who is a highly respected writer and digital nomad with over a decade of experience in content writing and journalism. And he's also chief editor of our very beloved Life in Armenia magazine. And he really makes significant contribution to the freelance community in Armenia. And we also have Hagop, who is like, we're really lucky to have him because he's one of the first freelancers in the world. He has more than 25 years of experience working as freelancer, and I'm sure he will share some insights about his career and some tools how we can also leverage our skills. And I want to give stage you and Jacob. Matthew, please tell us more about yourself.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for
Go ahead.
joining. So there is nothing I can add more than what Ani said. I would just say that for the past 10 years, I have been working as a content writer. That's my only source of income, and I've been doing it remotely. So a lot of people think that content writing and freelancing cannot become a like solo income channel. However, it is when you work as a freelancer and you give it all in, it works. I've been doing it for so long, and I don't think I'll be changing that. I do long-term contracts, short-term contracts, but I've been only working as a freelancer, as a content writer, and recently, of course, as Annie mentioned, the chief editor of Life in Armenia, which is a magazine I founded because it's a project out of passion, my passion for life in Armenia and working remotely as a digital nomad before, of course, and just combine them together. So today, I hope I'll be able to share some practical tricks, something that I have been using over the past years, and hopefully it will be useful for anyone considering this career path or has already joined this career path. To you, Hago.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, I stumbled on remote work in 1999. And if you can imagine what that's like, we're talking like the European Union, the euro was first introduced, I don't know, the millennium bug, all these kinds of strange things. It feels like a century ago. And it was very soon after I graduated from university. And it was quite by accident. I mean, at that time, there was not even the concept of remote work. It just happened to be that way. I applied for a job and it involved translation work. And that was it. All I needed was my laptop and everything was set up. And it's surprising. I mean, in those years, almost, nobody had the concept, but my employer at the time, they did. And that was the nature of the job. It involved translating news content, and they had a team around the world doing the same in every country, translating news content for them. And I kept that job for 19 years. So it has basically defined my career. Even when there was a short time when I worked in an office here in Armenia for Gnosi, even when I was working at an office job, it was about a year and a half. That was the only time I worked in an office. Even around those times, I still kept this job, and it's been a wonderful experience. I've never agreed or accepted to give up on anything to lose that remote work roles. I've had multiple career paths. I've worked in architecture, interior design because that's my background. I've worked in all kinds of anything that is quite normal today as digital, like online work, from translation to digital design, social media, content writing, everything. I also right now have a role as a product marketing manager for a company in Texas. So it's become the normal. It's the new normal for today, and it's not just the normal; it's becoming the future. So yeah, I'm delighted to be a remote work advocate. And I am very, very excited about using every opportunity to encourage this and find ways of making it more common.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for being speakers for this event. And I'm sure you will give more insights how you started. And I want to talk about some challenges that freelancers may encounter when they're just starting in their career, because of course freelancing world is full of opportunities, but of course there are also challenges. So what some key challenges you can talk about and maybe give us advices how to overcome them?
Yes, you go ahead.
Okay. So to me, by the way, the challenges that I faced when I started freelancing, it's what everyone faces. It's the admin work, the administrative tasks that no one told you will have to do. So you will have to look for clients, negotiate the prices, send the offers, get on calls, do the sales, do the outreach. You're doing everything. And it's like a full-time job. And then you have to do the real job, which is, in my case, writing. So doing all that took a lot of time. And in many cases, I was doing it the wrong way. I was just learning while I'm doing it. So for example, as it's mentioned here, the race to the bottom when it comes to the pricing, I used to offer the lowest price so I can get the gig from others. I mean, that was 10 years ago. It was a little bit difficult to get a job like a remote work gig than it is today. However, I went through all of it, but I would say it's the regular things. And everyone who's going through freelancing, you will have to go through these. Like the admin work, you will have to dedicate a lot of hours to the admin work until you can automate things at a later stage of your career. For example, after a couple of years, things become different. And I hope what we're going to offer today can solve some of these challenges before you even get on the freelancing career?
Yeah, for me, the biggest challenge as a freelancer, someone who works remotely and does not have a stable employer, although I have had very, very long-term employers. My current job, I'm in my 4th year. As I mentioned, the previous job that I had, I did that work for 19 years. But I guess I would say the biggest challenge for freelancers who switch between projects and employers is finding a balance between too much work and too little work. If you have too little work, if it just happens that you don't have enough projects, you have a problem. If you have kids, you're supporting a family, et cetera, you have a mortgage. When the work shrinks, then you have a certain kind of problem. When you have too much, you have a different kind of problem. When you're trying to do too many things at the same time, then you have a risk of, for example, disappointing some of your clients by failing to meet deadlines, etc., and overloading yourself, and dropping the quality of the work that you deliver. These are risks when you take on opportunities because you don't want to miss them, but taking on too much and then just becoming overworked, burnt out. One of the wonderful things about the remote lifestyle is that you're able to enjoy the best moments of your family life. Now, if you're overworked and burnt out and trying to deliver too much, you also undermine that. You also hurt that your personal life, which you're supposed to enjoy. So it's essentially starting out tough with the it's difficult to begin with, but then you learn the ways to make that income more sustainable. To know exactly when you should look for work so that you have enough work when something else ends, etc. So finding that balance where you're able to make the money that you want to make, but not overworking yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would say that is the biggest challenge. It's very tempting to do the race to the bottom, to charge less in order to get clients, but that doesn't help. And we'll be looking in this, as we go, we'll be looking at how you can leave the race to the bottom. Like 5 different ways that you can get out of the race, and get much more for every hour that you put in. And that is what we're going to look at today, which is the whole point.
Yeah.
We don't want people to be disappointed with the freelancing career path, as it says at the bottom. We want people to enjoy it, to have fun with it, and to organize it to perfection, so that they actually get the maximum pleasure out of it. It's mostly up to you. That's the thing about freelancing. You're it. Nobody else is going to make a decision for you. There's no boss. You're the boss. So you have to make those key decisions about everything. That can be stressful, but it's also highly, highly rewarding.
Yeah, indeed. And what are some strategies you would suggest us?
Well, we're going to be looking at, as I mentioned, we've got 5 ways to more income. Essentially, the problem with freelancing, it's not a problem, but the secret to good freelancing is mathematical to begin with. Like, the foundation is mathematics. More money, easier on you, more free time, etc. So getting that mathematical equation of revenue right. Now we're looking at the most basic thing that you can do, which is what I was mentioning just earlier, which is how can you create more income for yourself, is to seek more clients for the services or products that you provide. So that is like the very first thing that everybody does. So let's look at the pros and cons of that. Matthew, you want to share your experience?
So actually, when it comes to getting new clients, do you want me to talk about the pros and cons or my tips?
Both, whatever you feel.
So I'm someone who advocates looking for clients all the time. I'm someone who keeps looking for the clients. There's something I noticed for a lot of freelancers. Once they establish some sort of reputation, they stop looking for clients. They think it's shameful to go after clients. For me, it's never been this way. I have a routine. Every morning, I'm looking for clients. Every morning, 30 minutes, I'm applying for gigs. I don't stop. I consider this as a way to get clients, because this is how I can keep a stable income. Because as you mentioned, the pros are clear for everyone. When you have a stable income, your whole life and everything is different. So you make sure that you can provide for your family. So every morning I'm applying for gigs, and it's not like when you apply today, people will just accept you tomorrow. and you will start working. There's something that people don't know. I'm not going to apply. I'm going to wait because I have something else. Apply today. You might get like a message after 3-4 months from that same employer. Who knows? But apply today. Try to impress them today. And that's why every morning, 30 minutes, I might apply, for example, to 5 different gigs, 10 different gigs, 20, as much as I can find, and it fits what I'm doing, I would apply for it, and I will do my best when I'm applying. So I don't just, click on a button. I would write cover letters, I would record videos, I would take tests, and I would send it all. And even when I'm not the perfect fit, I will apply. If it's like 70% perfect fit, I will apply for it. Who knows? I mean, one time I was accepted in a job that they said clearly that they wanted a woman, but I was a perfect fit for everything else, and I got the job. And I worked with them for 3 years, and I gained a lot of experience, and it was well paid. So my advice here is keep applying, keep looking for clients, even when you have clients. And when someone says, for example, okay, we would like to hire you, and you already have some projects, you can tell people, okay, I will be available in a week or 2 or 3. We tend to try to satisfy everyone, and we're like, I can do it right away. And then you find what Yaqub just said, like a lot of clients, and you don't know what to do, and then you are disappointing everyone. But it's fine to say, I'm working on something right now. I have a project. It would take me another like week, for example, to start working on your client. And this goes, by the way, for every profession. It's not just for content writing. Whenever you have clients, do it this way. And I don't know, would you like to add, Yaqub?
I'm going to look at the pros and cons. Essentially, I tend to refrain from the pursuit of clients in that sense, because my career path has been different. I mean, I had one full-time job for like 19 years, and now I do have a full-time job for the last 4, which means I have less time available for other projects. So for me, the constant pursuit is not there. Although I have searched for a lot of clients, and yes, the toughest part, especially for me now, this is where my past in remote work sometimes makes things difficult for me, to be honest, because the path to getting new jobs and new work can change while you are in a stable role and you're happy with your stable remote role. And I have noticed that there was a time when I was wanting to move to another role, and I did discover how much actually how much AI and machine language and automation have influenced the hiring process. That has been a tremendous change. There are mid-career professionals applying for jobs in the traditional way, sending a PDF resume, expecting a call within a couple of days, not realizing that HR managers are now looking at hundreds and even thousands and thousands of resumes that pass through an AI, an AI system first before they get to them. And if you don't get that system right, if you don't know how to format your resume to pass that system, most of your applications nobody is even looking at. They're not even getting through to the human. So you're not getting a chance at all, and you're sitting there waiting for some kind of response. The world has changed tremendously. There are even right now there are AI tools that help you apply automatically. So it will, they're quite expensive, but if you're willing to pay, it'll automatically apply to hundreds of jobs for you. If you have your profile, it'll find the jobs, it'll do it for you. And so you've got one AI talking to another AI and 2 humans at the at the back end. So, but here, look, getting back to the subject at hand, essentially the good thing about like getting more and more clients for your work is that the opportunity for stability is there, because when you have that diversity, you don't lose all your clients at the same time. Some are coming, some are going, so you're transitioning between one project to another, and you're creating a certain stability. And visibility is also good, because when you build your network of clients, the more clients you have and word of mouth you get around, the more you build your reputation. And of course, you get more expertise in different domains. Somebody will want one thing from you, someone else will want something else from you. So you get a variety of experience. And of course, again, goes back to that point of that balance. between overloading yourself. You don't want to overload yourself. You don't want to overwork yourself. There is a natural tendency to do that because, hey, wow, there's more money. It's better. But sometimes you can go beyond and start, feeling just exhausted, and less opportunity to enjoy your lifestyle. You enjoy your time with your family, and you want to find that balance. That balance is a very, very good thing. And of course, ultimately, you only have so many hours in a day. How many hours can you work in it? Although I do work a lot of hours in a day, but I still get to enjoy, like family life. But I do work, 12 to 16 hours. I'm at home, but I'm glued to the computer. So yeah, these are the pros and cons of getting more clients as a strategy for raising your income. Okay. Matthew, I guess he looked at most of these. Matthew, is there any point that you would like to reinforce here?
Yep, I mean, there are just like a couple of things. So I just talked about like making it a daily routine to apply for gigs. That's my advice to everyone. And it's regardless of the platform, by the way. You might want to use LinkedIn or some other platform, or maybe a couple of them, or try one and change it like after a while. But most important, to keep doing it and check the results, like keep applying every day to see how it works. That's again, like you described your own career path, but in my case, I've never had a long-term employer, so I've always wanted to have more clients so I can, again, like cover my expenses and have the income I need. So the second one, apply even when you are not a perfect fit. I've noticed this like with a lot of people. And again, seriously, when they see that you have what they're looking for, they might just, ignore a few things and accept you. They might get back to you later when, for example, no one else who's better than you shows up. So why not? Just do it and don't be lazy. Like when they request recording a video or taking a test, do it. Sometimes the test is too stupid, by the way, and they know it's too stupid. They actually just put the test there to make sure that you are someone who follows instructions. They want to know that if they share some instructions with you, you're going to follow them later when you take the job. It's not about the test itself or the cover letter. No one reads the cover letter. They just want to see that you actually took the effort, wrote the cover letter, and shared it with them. And one thing I do all the time, it's connecting with the recruiters on LinkedIn. So I go to jobs, different jobs. Sometimes it's remote jobs, by the way, with tech companies, but not necessarily for content writers. And I look for those who have the recruiter's name showing up. So sometimes the profiles are there and I connect with the recruiters. And every day I add more recruiters so that I don't send them anything, by the way. This whole like, hi, I've been noticing what you're doing. No, I don't send anything to a recruiter. I would just add them to my network. And later with my content in my LinkedIn, I know that I'm making them notice me slowly. So whenever they have a job later, maybe in a year, they have a gig, as a freelancer, this is something you have to plan in advance. You have to plan getting clients, not just today or tomorrow, but after a month or 2 or 10 or after a year. So when you add these recruiters, you impress them with your, let's say, content, with your knowledge, and then they will notice you later, and they will be the ones reaching out to you with job opportunities, even without you applying. But this doesn't work unless you start adding these international recruiters, and you will find them on LinkedIn. Just go to jobs, search for like the field that you work in, for example, creative design. Search for creative design, look for the jobs that have the recruiter there, and just add them. And sometimes it's the founder, by the way, which is better. Those are the founders who have like hands-on, they do the thing themselves, they're hiring for their startups. So it's good to connect with them. They might get back to you even faster than a recruiter. And keep good relationships with everyone who like rejects you. I apply to a lot of gigs. Sometimes I receive a personal message saying like, hi, I saw that you applied, you texted me and something, but we have moved on with someone else. Okay, thank you so much. I will keep the good relationship. I will not block anyone. And the next time they have an open position, I will apply again, and I will apply for the third time. I will apply all the time, because once they find that I'm the perfect person for that role, they will hire me. And again, this is something you plan in advance. It's not just for getting a client today. And like the final advice, avoid these like messages that you find online these days, the templates that the coaches are spreading online. Most of these coaches haven't actually found a remote job. They just talk about remote work, but they don't do remote work themselves. So this message that says like, hi, I've been following your work and your posts are really impressive. I like to talk to you because it's really engaging. Would you hire me? It doesn't work. No one buys these anymore. So don't do it. When you share something valuable, people will notice you from your content, from the knowledge that you're sharing, and that's it. And like these are the my way, I would say, of getting new clients every time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, that links to personal branding and the importance of personal branding, which we'll look at later. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, that is also a great idea. So thank you so much for insights. And as we already discussed, scaling is one of the biggest steps in freelancers' life. But as we discussed, keeping that quality on a high level is really key. So what advices you can give us to make sure that we are scaling, but at the same time we are keeping our work quality on a high level?
Well, I will go back to what I said before, finding that balance. One thing is finding that balance between too much and too little, but also as you scale, there are different levels of organization that are going to, you're going to need. You need to organize yourself at higher and more complex levels. You can use simple tools to do that. I mean, like a spreadsheet can help you, or simple tools to do that. But there is a point at beyond which you're going to have to, let me put it this way, go pro. So you're going to need to like become a professional and project that image as well, because a lot of the work that you do, you share with your client, you show them how you're doing things. But also an important aspect of this is what Matthew mentioned earlier, which is the admin. And you're going to need that admin to be efficient and effective so that it doesn't occupy a lot of your production time, because admin is your overhead that you need to get work done, but it does not produce the revenue, right? So it's the work that produces the revenue, but the admin makes it possible. And that is where you need a higher level organization to do that, One example, I mean, for us here is native teams. Matthew has direct experience with native teams. I'm new to native teams, but I'm slowly scaling. And yeah, that is where you need good relationships with clients, your CRM, contractual, etc., invoicing, payments, etc., etc. So that is essentially it, and you have to be ready for it. Again, you're the boss, you're the one making the decisions, and you have to go beyond. It's a wonderful time to be a solo entrepreneur right now, to be a freelancer, to be a solo business owner, an entrepreneur, because there are so many wonderful tools and service providers, tools like different AI tools that can do a whole bunch of things for you, automations, which we'll look at, and also employers of record like native teams that provide the right kind of services to make admin very simple, easy, fast for you. So that is the secret to scaling. Even when you're on your own, a single human being can do tremendous amounts of work if they scale properly these days.
Yes, thank you so much for insights. And many freelancers usually find their job on Upwork, Fiverr, and this kind of popular platforms that are highly competitive. And as you know, you should submit some proposals for getting that job. So what are some common freelancer mistakes that you noticed, and how they can refine their approach to stand out in the market?
May I start?
Matthew, go ahead.
Yep. So in my case, I'm not going to talk about a specific platform because, by the way, I've been using Freelancer before. I used it for a while. It was a good experience. Then I switched to LinkedIn, and then sometimes I try other websites. However, in general, let us say, and it's not just the mistakes that freelancers make. I used to make these mistakes before, and over the time you like improve. So for example, when I used to send an email, again, I'm talking now as a content writer. When I'm reaching out to someone with like applying for a job, I have to write something, a lot of emails. I used to work with companies, and for example, we would hire people to join the team on a project or something, and people would just send a blank email with an attached resume. So how do you expect that an employer will just like see a resume and like it? And nowadays there are, as Hagop mentioned, hundreds of people applying to that same like vacancy. So you have to add something. As a writer, how can I try to impress you if my email is not impressive enough? How can you hire me to write for your company if what I'm writing to you wouldn't interest you? And it's the same, for example, for a designer. How can you apply to like a design gig if your resume isn't well designed, if your portfolio doesn't have some creative work, if you're a web developer? How can you apply if your own website is not that good? So again, it's all about how you present yourself. Don't just click on an apply button, because you will waste a lot of time. You will get nothing. Just applying to hundreds of jobs every day will not get you anywhere unless you take every job as this is the one. Write everything, write something that would impress them. Try to refer like to the right like projects that you've done before. Just think that you're talking to that person. Assume that your resume made it to the human, and now you have to talk to that human to convince them. Don't just click applying to gigs. It wouldn't take you anywhere. That's on my end.
Yeah. To answer the question that's on the screen, the most common mistake, right? The most common and the biggest mistake freelancers make when they want to apply for jobs is they don't commit enough to the platform they are using. Okay, so they are not committed to the platform. They think the platform is just a way for them to just reach somebody, but it's not. It's your platform and your profile on that platform is what recruiters are going to use to evaluate you. It's not your resume. Sometimes, you know, the resumes are no longer enough because everybody is online. Everybody is putting everything they can online, and everything you put online goes into your profile. So recruiters are going to look at your Upwork. I use Upwork for my work. Recruiters are going to look at your Upwork profile, the way that you presented yourself, your featured projects, your level of completion, etc., all of the KPIs for Upwork. And then they're going to go to your LinkedIn profile, and then they're going to go to your Facebook profile and look at you as an overall picture. So one thing is, if you're using, for example, just as an example, Upwork, commit to Upwork in the sense that it's not the only one that you're using, but you make the effort to understand what a successful Upwork profile is, what a successful application through Upwork or Fiverr or Freelancer or whatever. Make that effort. There is tons and tons of free knowledge available everywhere for you to do, you know, amazing stuff with your Upwork profile. It's all there on YouTube. There's experts telling you how to do this, how to do that, how to apply properly. Nobody can say, oh, I didn't know that, because it's all there. It's all free. So when you do less than what you can, it's not the recruiter's fault that you don't get hired. If you want to do it, put that effort in. If you have a wonderful project, don't keep it to yourself. Put it as a featured project on your profile. Show everybody what you're doing. And people are going to go to your LinkedIn profile. If your LinkedIn is empty, they're not going to be impressed. Your LinkedIn is part of your professional profile. So is your Facebook. They're going to go, Facebook is not for professionals, but they're going to go there to find out what kind of person you are, what you care about, whether you do stuff that is possibly inappropriate or, you know, like heavily or whatever, things that are red flags, right? So they want to make sure that there aren't any. Just to make sure that there aren't any red flags, they're going to go in those profiles and check them out. And there's automated ways to do this. You know, sometimes it's not even the human, it's the machine that's doing all this. So you need to commit if you know, to learn how those things work and to keep up, because it's changing every day. That is the secret to making it work for you. And that is where most people tend to, you know, not do it. They do it lukewarm. They do it 50%, 60%, and hope for results. You don't need to hope for results. If you do it well enough, it'll come to you. You'll get invitations through Upwork. You know, people will invite you to an interview because they like what you're doing and you're relevant for them. They're looking for people like you.
Yeah. And moving forward on receiving some payments. So working with international clients can be rewarding, of course, but it also brings some challenges, especially when it comes to getting paid fairly and on time. So what are your go-to methods for ensuring smooth and reliable payments across the borders?
I would start. So in my case, again, I'm talking now about my own experience. I would always price my services, I'm sorry, average plus. I'm not going to price them very high because I know then I'm not going to get the job. There are more competitive prices out there. And I'm not going to go to the lowest price. Maybe I did that in the beginning of my career, like 10 years ago, but now I don't do it. So I would price something above average, not so high, but again, above the average, because it will be well paying for me. It's enough. And I know that this is something that the client might consider given the experience and the value I'm adding to the table. So that's what I do all the time. I don't go for the highest price. I don't go for the lowest price. I go for average plus. And I think it works for a lot of professions. But again, you have to like measure it based on what kind of profession you have. Maybe some like unique professions, when you're providing some rare services, it's different. But in my case, there are like tons of content writers out there. So I cannot just go for the highest price. And, some people would always promote like, when you price yourself really high, that kind of segment will come to you, those clients. No, they will not. They will not find you that easy, because a lot of people are doing the same process and they have people in their own countries. So for example, if an employer in the US wants to hire someone from a different country, they're doing that for two reasons. It's the experience, of course, and to save some money. Otherwise, they would hire someone from the US. So that's why I have to be a little bit lower than that price, but again, show all my experience. That's how I get it. And yeah, I mean, that's it for me. What about you, Hago?
Part of this question is taken care of by the platform itself sometimes. For example, Upwork. Upwork ensures that the money that you are paid, depending on hourly or project work, is in escrow, which means it has control over it. And once the project is over or the hours are recorded, if nobody has any disputes, then it transfers the money. So partly it's kind of taken care of. But one of the great ways that you can make sure that you're very likely to be paid fairly and on time is, first of all, if you're going to work with a client, if you're going to apply to a job, first of all, vet the employer first. And for example, Upwork allows you to do that. Just look at the employer. Somebody is offering, let's say, $50 an hour for a certain role, but then you look at their statistics and you see like this is the first time they are hiring on Upwork. They haven't, spent any money on Upwork yet, and their average rate is $10 an hour. So because Upwork calculates that and puts that as public information, right? So they're promising you 50, but their average is 10. That should give you a signal that something is wrong. If you apply for the job, they will tell you that they accepted, they're hiring you, but they'll tell you because of certain reasons we're going to pay you 15 or 12 or whatever. They'll pull you in and they'll promise something like a nice, great project, and then they'll try to hire you for a very low price. So a lot of these things can happen. Usually, if there is a match between what you're being offered and the profile of the employer, then there is a likelihood that this is good. So vetting is a good thing. Clarity is another important thing that you set your expectations, both sides. Set your expectations and make it clear that both sides accept that. And if you're not doing this through a certain platform like Upwork, then there is the contractual aspect. Then the contractual aspect from the beginning is probably your most important protection. And also, don't be afraid to ask for down payments and things like that to make sure that there are fewer risks. Also, for the client, there are good ways to reduce the risks and the dangers for the client themselves as well. So take care of yourself and take care of the client as well. Then that will give you a much higher likelihood of getting that project. And that can all either go through the platform or go through the contract. So once you have certain contract terms, put them there, automate them, make them standard, make that effort, and that'll do a lot to take care of what you need.
And from technical perspective, if we go to the next slide, please.
Sure.
So I remember that when I was working on Upwork, getting the job was super exciting thing for me. But at first it was also something anxious because I didn't know how to get that money out of Upwork. Because at that time, I remember that Upwork wasn't supporting Armenian cards, so I had to order some international bank card and then think how I can withdraw my money. And again, I remember there were huge transaction fees from third-party banks, and it was really hassle for me. So that's why I'm very happy to share with Native Team's payment plan because it makes our life much easier. So freelancers can get multi-currency digital wallet, basically get their money from in any currency and easily switch their wallet. And most importantly, they can then withdraw to a local bank account. So there are not delays. They can, in a few clicks, transfer their money to their bank account. And also something very interesting is that you can invoice your clients and make those invoices very professional looking. You can put there your logos, and you can also track those invoices. For example, when you send it, you can track on your account in which state is that invoice currently. And that money will automatically kind of sit to your digital wallet where you can decide how to use it. And we have a special offer for you. In the next slide, you can see that we are providing 15% discount for our audience. And for that, you just need to go to our website and fill in Hagop/Matthew/native teams in discount checkout. So please do that and try yourself. Let us know what do you think, how it works, because we really appreciate our customer feedback. So yeah, this is from a more technical perspective of how to receive your money from abroad. So let's continue to strategies that you're suggesting.
All right. So the next way, pathway to more income is essentially to raise your fees, right? So for the same amount of work that you do, you make more. That is the second strategy. Now it also has its own, pros and cons. As far as the pros go, essentially, I mean, it's the obvious where you can make more money for the same amount of work that you do. If you make, $15 an hour is what you charge as a standard, you can move it to 20, 25, etc. Over time, you raise your rates. That gives you an opportunity for higher paying clients. If you move to a higher tier of clientele, that is also an opportunity to enter into a new circle of customers that are willing to pay higher for good quality work. And of course, naturally, that kind of upgrades your professional status. And on the downside, of course, I mean, you create a certain amount of risk, which is that, if you start to charge too highly, there is a risk that you start to price yourself out of the market. Because, if you want to tell your client, you know what, I was working for $20 an hour and now I want to work for 25, they may accept, they may not. You may lose some clients, and all of a sudden you can become non-competitive if others are doing the exact same work. So it's also very closely related to the quality of work that you're doing, what you are delivering to your client. If you raise the quality of what you're doing and you charge more, that is much easier to sell as an idea, as a service, as a product, than keeping everything else the same and all of a sudden choosing to raise your rates. That can create problem and can risk losing your customers. Now, as far as how to do it, Matthew, what's your experience?
I mean,
Have
you
you
just
ever,
mentioned
have
it,
you
but
ever raised fees all of a sudden?
yes, a lot of times, especially when AI came in, I tripled my fees, by the way. So I'm just going to talk about this experience because it makes a lot of sense in this context. So when AI came in, a lot of content writers lost their jobs. A lot of them were asked to reduce their fees, and they did. So someone who was getting, for example, let's say $500 a month, reduce their fees to 100 a month just because the employer said or the client said, now you can use AI, so you can just use it and edit it and send it to me, and that's fine. So I'm going to pay you less. And at that point, I was scared of the same thing because I thought, is it going to end my career? Am I going to lose my clients or my income? And I thought about it. Then I thought, I'm going to do the right opposite. I tripled my fees. And instead of asking for, let's say, $10 for something, I asked for 30. Instead of 100, it's 300. And then I emailed all my clients saying, I tripled my fees because I'm a human being. You're hiring a human being, and I'm adding a value that AI cannot add. If you want that, please contact me and I'll be happy to work and I'll be happy to provide 1, 2, 3. And I added more value to what I used to do before. So for example, if there are some things I never used to add to my offers, I added them. So I went all in as a human being against what AI can provide. And I mentioned that I myself will use AI when working for your projects. However, I'm using it as a human being, which means I'm spending the same time, I'm putting the same effort. You as a client are getting a better result because I'm using AI. But it's not like I'm not going to save my time. I'm doing the same work for you. You're getting something better. And that's why I need more. Otherwise, let me help you teach some of your team members how to use AI for free. I lost some clients and I got other clients, by the way. And the ones I got were impressive because they appreciated what I offered. They liked this I am a human being kind of thing. And I'm still working with them. I got some long-term contracts through this strategy. I'm not suggesting that you would go tomorrow and just like triple your fees, but I'm saying look for that added value that you can present to your client and just present it. Because no one likes, for example, a lot of people talk about inflation, that, prices have went up in my country, so would you like to pay me more? The answer is no, I don't care. This is the first answer you will get. And instead of doing that, think of what you can add to your, because if I'm working as a content writer for 10 years and I'm offering the same thing, how can I expect people to pay me more? If I'm improving what I'm doing, if I'm adding more value, if I'm adding more services, if I'm improving my services as a writer, then people will be happy paying me more. Not because of the inflation, not because of anything, because they're getting something in return. Someone who's paying you wants something in return. They're paying you to make money out of your work, whether it's saving them time, whether it's giving them something like leads or selling or whatever. They are paying you to get results. Once you show that you can add more, they will be happy to pay you more. So that's what I would say, like, my
Actually, I think a lot of companies these days that went all in for into AI, for especially for content production, are probably regretting it. Essentially because it has proven, like, 100% AI generated content is proving useless for SEO, for example. It's going the like the other way. It's very close to the relationship between industrial production and handmade products, right? When you have industrial production of anything like clothes or household products or whatever, anything that is handmade becomes extremely valuable because a human made it, right? So in some ways we're kind of going in that direction as well. I mean, AI is not making humans obsolete. It's even highlighting even more the value that a human being brings into communication, especially for communication and content production, actually. But in the context of what we're talking about right now, how to be able to raise your fees without losing customers, essentially everything begins by tracking your performance. If you are able to prove to your customer that you, for example, you tripled the traffic to their website over so many months with the content that you provided, and they were able to turn that into revenue that is more than what you're asking, they will never have a problem. It's sometimes, if you are able to prove that you are asking only for 10% of the for example, of the revenue that you are generating for them, nobody will ever say no to you. If you are capable enough to produce and measure the additional value that you're creating, no one will ever question any, the increase in your fees. If you say, for the next round, I'm going to charge you this much, but I will also do this, and I will replicate my results again, nobody will ever question you, because they're obviously getting more than what they're paying. So the value of what they're getting, right? So that is the biggest secret to raising your fees. If you're able to do that, you can raise your fees, you can skyrocket your fees, as long as you're able to prove it. So track your performance, measure everything as much as you can. What value is it delivering to the customer, especially that, because that is what the customer understands. And again, added value and what makes you different, what makes you special. If you have a certain level of expertise in something, especially if you combine expertise in kind of very different areas and things, or very different skills together, that can make you very valuable, because those things are very hard to find. There are people, for example, who niche down, right? They're experts in medical writing, for example. They are able to write, for example, or legal, especially like legal, like concepts. They understand terms and concepts. They may even have a legal background. When they write something, it's worth a lot, and they do charge a lot. They do not charge, like your average market fees. They charge 3, 4, 5 times that, because what you're getting makes sense. It's worth something more than the average. And that is the secret to it. And the secret to doing that is knowing what skills you have, what different, unique experiences and skills that you have, and bringing them into the services and products that you can deliver to people.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for advices. I think you answered the next questions. So maybe I can go ahead. Yeah. So maybe I can go ahead and talk about our remote work plan. The next slide.
Yeah, let's go. Because we answered all these questions.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And as you apply all Jacob's and Matthew's suggestions, I'm sure that you will have many clients. And here we have, where is the slide?
No, this
is essentially a slide of
the challenges.
What are the challenges that people face, freelancers can face, and how native teams can help them, basically.
Let me talk about this, by the way. And let me start with the payment gateways. This is one of the challenges I had in the beginning, and I still have up to this day. So when you're working with someone in, let's say, European countries, some European countries, or with someone in the States, and you say that, I'm in Armenia, you can pay me to my bank account. It sounds to them like you're asking them to pay to some country in a different planet. It's like, Armenia, do you have banks? How can we do? Don't you have PayPal? No, we don't. So sometimes these things that you add to your, let's say, to your portfolio, to your offer, it makes it easier for your client to work with you. And these are the really important, because when it comes to payments, no one wants to send a payment to someone they don't know. And to them, it's a country they don't know. So it all sounds suspicious. And they're like, let's skip to someone else. Let's find someone else in a country we know. Because it takes a lot of time sometimes to receive the payments and more complications. And, they have these kind of things. A lot of clients have these kind of things. So to me, having like a native teams, that was like 3 years ago, I would say, when I first joined. I got a bank account in Germany from native teams and a bank account in the United States, like for American clients. And whoever wants to pay me can pay me directly to Germany or the States. Then I get it paid, like transferred to my digital wallet in native teams in 3 days, the whole process. So I'm not saying that, like, in this case, it's not just about promoting native teams, but the concept itself, native teams made it so easy that you can just get the money to another bank account in a different country that your client will feel very happy, like transferring the money to, and you're getting it on the next morning. And then I can move the money to myself. I can move the money to, like what Annie said, to my bank in Armenia or to my card in Armenia. And I can even use the Equals card, which I got from native teams. It's just like a debit card. I can just use it to pay anything, even without a bank account in Armenia. So this is really important. And I get to pay my taxes in Armenia. So this is for the Armenian audience, but I know it also applies to many other countries facing the same thing, like the same stereotypical stories when working with clients in the US or Europe, that when I'm receiving my money, I have my registered business in Armenia. I would just like clarify that I got this money and I will pay my taxes for it. So I would always move the money to my business account in Armenia and I will pay its taxes. And that's how I get my money taxed and everything, and I can use it like freely in Armenia. So those are the things I wanted to talk about. And again, it's really important to make it easy for your client to pay you. Sometimes you find the right client, they find you as the perfect fit, but the way they can pay you makes everything different, and they decide not to move on with you as a candidate.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for your insights, Matthew, because as you're one of our old users, your experience is really appreciated. And also as freelancers work internationally, they don't have access to some benefits because we don't have traditional employment status, right? So we have a remote work plan which solves this issue. You can get the perks of being officially employed, like social security, pension contributions, and many other this kind of benefits without giving up your freedom of freelancing. And as I very like to say, it's the best of both worlds. So another thing that we provide is localized documents. Basically, working internationally means dealing with different legal requirements and paperwork. And what we do is we provide localized documents that are tailored to the legal standards in Armenia. And this way you're always compliant and can focus on your work and not paperwork. Another thing is special benefits for employees, and this is something that we're hardly working currently. So users for a Remote Work Pro plan will very soon get very exciting discounts for gyms, for co-working spaces, for some self-development courses, for insurances. So this is something that is going to become live within a month, and we're very excited because this is again creating a space for freelancers to enjoy their life as much as they can. And finally, we have loan application assistance. Because getting a loan as a freelancer can be tricky because banks often want proof of steady income, and we offer loan application assistance. Basically, we help you gather the necessary documents and increase your chance of approval. It's all about like making your making sure you have the financial support that you need at that time. So yeah, and we have actually many more services that I didn't include here, but I highly urge you to talk with our professionals. You can share with your pain points and they will directly help you understand which plan can work better for you. So yeah, I guess we can move forward.
Yep.
Or just, yeah.
Okay, so the next pathway to more income is moving from hours to projects. This is essentially a transition that is quite a significant one. It's very easy to charge by hour. It's much tougher to charge by project because the fundamental challenge is communicating the value. So if you are charging, several $1,000s for a certain set of, products or a certain set of services, then representing that value can be challenging if you are new to it. Of course, the colossal benefit is freedom from time-based work. When you have a project to deliver, not only do you no longer have to log in hours and charge by hour, you have complete freedom for that, and your customer is focused on what you're delivering, and so are you. So you're focused on what it is that you're delivering. Now, how and when you deliver that, in what form, as long as it's within deadline and within standard, is up to you. So it creates, a much greater sense of freedom. There's also much higher income potential. So you move to another tier because you are able to bundle services together that, when combined, are worth much higher to your customer. So if you're doing, like, let's say, social media management, then you expand that and you define it as a project that includes blog posts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or events or whatever. Then you are able to bundle that together as something that is of much higher value. And you're able to organize such projects in parallel. You can't charge 2-3 people for the same hour, obviously, but you are able to manage 3, 4, 5 projects at the same time, because the time, the hours are up to you. How you structure that and how you do that are up to you. And of course, as we'll look at in the next point, when you automate and you create workflows, you are able to do much, much more as an individual than you think you can. And that helps you break free from that hour. Hourly work is a kind of, it's very binding. And how much can you do in a day from an hour? And it's already very predictable, right? If I work for, I don't know, $25 an hour, let's say 40 hours a week, that's 1,000 a week, and that's my limit. So whether it's low or high, that it's your limit. But when you move to projects, that your horizon really opens up, and that is a good thing. Some of the challenges, especially when you're starting, it can be unstable. You can swing between too much and too little. One project finishes, you haven't started on the other one. There's gaps where you're not making any income. That can be a little bit of a risk. And there's, of course, a time limit on projects, which is related to that. It expires, so you're charging so much for that, and at some point it's going to be over. So that can be challenging, which means that you have to create new projects and you have to be very focused. Many roles are hour-based, but they are more stable, but they are limiting. But they can be more stable, right? If you're working for a company, let's say for 20 or half, half or full-time, half-time, full-time. But for projects, no, it's not the case. So these are essentially the fundamental pros and cons. I've done both. I do hourly work now. I do project-based work now. I've done both throughout my career. I don't have a particular preference, but I would say that project-based is preferable. Sometimes tough at the beginning, but later on, definitely. How about you, Matthew?
Same thing here, by the way. I mean, whenever there is an opportunity, I wouldn't like drop it if it's an hourly base, but I would prefer the project based. I would say 80% of my tasks now are project based, only 20% are hourly based because there is no way to turn it into a project. But again, I don't want to lose it, so I would just accept it.
Yeah, great. And how to do it? Yeah.
Yep. So let me start on this, by the way. It's about expanding your services vertically or horizontally. So vertically means you are adding value to what you're doing. You are improving you're becoming more professional in what you're doing. So if you were adding something like that, then you're making it larger and larger, and you can ask for more, and you can make it into a project. So you're not just providing, for example, one article or one design or one service to your client. You're adding more. You can offer a package. You can offer it in the form of a project, not just one small gig that they can charge you per hour. Or expanding horizontally, which is adding people to work with you. And in that case, I would say, I mean, in my case, again, I've never told anyone that I am an employer or that I have a team. Whenever there is a project that I can see and I would like to apply for that project, I would tell the client that I know other professionals who work as freelancers and I trust them. And I always have some good references like designers, people who work, editors, people who are translators. In my own, let's say, career, I know people from that industry and I present that to the client and I'm the one in charge. So I am offering everything for one single price. The client pays it, and I'm doing everything. I'm managing those people, and I'm presenting the results to the client. However, I would never call myself an employer unless I have a team. I would make it really clear that I am contracting with other professionals, and I can connect you directly with them. I'm not hiding anything here. I hate it when people try to look like they are a corporate from day one. Meanwhile, they are a freelancer working on their own. You don't have to look like a corporate. No one will believe it. No one buys these things anymore. Just look like who you are. I'm a professional. I can provide 1, 2, 3. I know others who can provide other things. Together, we can do this project. You have to pay this amount of money. And that's like one tip from me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you so much. And another aspect to cover is when you're getting job, but as soon as you start working with international teams, I know that it's very challenging to manage like employment contracts. And in the next slide, I will share some insights also how you can manage that. Basically,
Should we move on to the next slide? Would you like to?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay. Shall we answer this question? Let's answer this question quickly.
Yes, sure.
Oh, sorry.
Sure.
Let's answer this question quickly.
Yeah,
Managing multiple projects, what systems do you rely on? I rely on, as simple and as, commonplace tools. I do not use any specialized tools. I specifically avoid specialized tools because of my approach to freelancing is, to my career has always been, do not overcomplicate when it doesn't have to be. Because that can be, it can make things worse for you rather than better. I mean, I don't need more than an Excel sheet to organize my tasks. It can be a long one because you have lots of things to take care of. But I don't go into more complex tools like Asana, that kind of thing. I usually find that sometimes, since I'm a dinosaur, pen and paper sometimes does the thing for me. But usually, I usually use different versions of, like different layouts on spreadsheets, depending on, how I want my mind to structure that. I do rely a lot on my subconscious, but that's something that's because of my long years, because tools for managing workflows are relatively new. When I was starting out, they weren't that common and I didn't really use them. Sometimes my instincts tell me this is important. I usually follow those instincts, and it turns out most of the time they turn out to be right. I rely a lot on what my subconscious tells me is good, is the right thing to do at the moment. But I also, I just use a simple spreadsheet, no more than that. Because, you want it to be simple. I like my workflows and everything to be as simple as possible, because that is what you're looking for. That the simplicity makes things enjoyable. Sometimes it's tempting to overcomplicate or try to use an expensive tool to to manage complicated things, but it's not always necessary. The simplest tool for the job is usually the right one. I don't know. How about you, Matthew? What do you go for?
Nothing to add. You just killed it. Yep, 100%.
All right. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
sorry
jump.
for guys, this one because I had another version of slides, but that's why. So basically, you covered everything, but in terms of contracts, again, Native Teams has a service that supports this. So basically, it can be challenging to manage employment contracts, especially when you're dealing with different legal systems and regulations. And the traditional approach often involves navigating complex local labor laws, and those can be really overwhelming. And here, Native Teams has employment contract management service, which is in a remoter plan. So we provide customized contract templates that are compliant with local regulations. So you don't have to worry about missing any critical details. And also the service includes digital signing, which not only speeds up the process, but also ensures that all contracts are securely stored and easily accessible. And also, one of the best features here is that automatically it will track the contract status and send you reminders when renewal is due. So yeah, this is a short about this feature that I wanted to talk about. And now I believe we can move forward to...
There's something that I do want to mention here, something
Sure.
quite important.
Sure.
When digital nomads was something, was a new thing, freelancers, almost nobody had heard of.
Mhm.
Nobody, went too far into how they did their work, how did their contractual relationships and everything. And everybody kind of managed things on their own, based on their own, requirements, and the requirements of the role. But now the numbers have completely changed. The digital nomads are a global demographic, and remote work. I mean, the number of companies that are still insisting on office work are in the single digits as a percentage, like 5, 6, 7% of companies. Everybody else is trying to find ways to go remote, and this is a global trend now. This is a very, very important and big global trend, because companies are noticing that they can get the best brains in the world when they go remote. You don't need to find people from a driving distance to employ your company. You can just, the whole world is your company. But now that it's become a significantly large demographic, governments and service providers are paying very close attention to how people migrate while they work, who they work for, whether they should tax digital nomads working here or working there. If you spend 3 months in Bali, for example, this year, should you be paying tax to the Indonesian government or no, while you were working there? So governments are starting to ask these questions, and this is where companies like Native Teams are taking care of these problems automatically for you, because by over time it's going to get more and more complicated to manage things. And for freelancers, it could get really stressful, having to, if I spend 3 months in Bali and then another 6 months in Portugal, having to communicate with the Indonesian government and then with the Portuguese government to see whether I owe them taxes or not, and things like that. And employers of record are doing, like Native Teams, are doing a lot of work in this direction by simplifying and organizing everything. As I said, the simplest tool for any task is the one that you want. And again, for the admin work, the simplest tool like Native Teams that simplifies, organizes, automates everything and has the knowledge base to help you is probably the simplest thing that the tool for all of that kind of admin work, which is going to get more and more important. It's going to be a bigger and bigger part of our lives as remote workers and digital nomads.
Mhm.
So yeah, and that's exactly the context in which all of this makes very good sense.
Yeah, thank you for putting together so well. And I know that we also promised that we will talk about some automation and AI systems, and what you want to share with us.
Yeah, nobody can ignore this, and nobody is ignoring it. But a lot of people are kind of, I guess, getting it wrong in some ways. They're just jumping full into AI, especially, I mean, you know, for AI that simplifies and automates tasks, maybe the problem is not that huge. But for you know, Gen AI that can create content, some companies and some employers just went a little too quickly all in, only to find out that, you know, the content that is produced purely by AI has a lot of drawbacks, that you cannot rely on it for many things, that those drawbacks are going to hurt you rather than help you. And therefore, the people are looking for, you know, like a greater balance between human and AI to get most. This does not necessarily apply to AI tools for automating, you know, admin tasks and stuff. But as you know, all of the tools that we use, for example, Canva, for, you know, like a good example, at once, you know, first they simplified tasks like creating presentations or ebooks or whatever. And now, of course, as we know, they are just integrating AI into those workflows to give you more and more and more and more. But there's something, I mean, just from a personal point of view, automation is, for me, is as big as AI. Automation is a different perspective. It's not different, you know, it's not contrary to AI. It involves and includes AI tools, but automation is what can 10x, 20x, 30x your productivity. Not AI, not necessarily AI. Automation is what can do much, much more. And I want to talk about that in the coming couple of slides. Just quickly going over that. This is just an example of AI tools, you know, replacing a lot of the paid tools that you have. AI doesn't need to be expensive. Any pay tool that you're currently using, there are competing free AI tools as well, AI-enabled tools. So anybody who wants to, you know, simplify their workflows or make them more efficient can find a tool for almost anything, right? So at least, you know, ones that are kind of new entering the market, a lot of them have free offerings. So they're everywhere. Anybody who wants to do some research can just jump in and find. This is an example of something that I found on LinkedIn by Mindstream. So there's hundreds of examples of this. So this is not in any way unique, just examples. Okay. Now, what is more interesting for me, this is something personal that I discovered that I'm personally excited about, is automation, which means that you take apps that you use. Anybody who's familiar with Zapier can relate to this. Zapier was one of the first to automate apps on a large scale, but there are companies that are making it simpler and coming up with very, very unique, innovative ways to do these things, to make these integrations, no code integration between hundreds and literally thousands of apps. The three that I found in the market that are market leaders, I have no commercial relationship with any of them. These are just like the market leaders for me right now. So Make.com, Gumloop, and NA10. So all of them are essentially solving the same problem. Hundreds and thousands. Look at this, is the apps on the left are from Make.com. So it's showing 1 to 48 of 1,945 potential app integrations. So you can integrate Facebook, Instagram, all your social media accounts to your content generation accounts like Canva, to your CRM accounts like HubSpot or whatever, or your SEO tools, your Google, you know, Google stuff and AI tools, all of them together, and create workflows. So a trigger, you know, you create an automation process that is triggered by something, for example, that a customer does, like fill out a form. And then it, you know, you can trigger an automation. It jumps to, for example, you know, it gets their email, looks up their profiles, sends them a DM, etc., whatever. You know, you can, you know, you can generate messages. I have I watched one video the other day of an automation by one guy in Canada who automated his Upwork application process. The entire application process for Upwork is automated. So he applies to dozens and dozens every day. And it does that for him automatically. It looks up through the keywords and compiles the application messages and applies them, and finds based on the keywords, it finds which projects it should highlight and adds them into the messaging. So you can do unbelievable things with automation, something that very excited about. And for freelancers, this is really a killer because you can do the work of 10 people, 10, 12, 20, 15, I don't know, a huge team just on your own. If you go into the effort of learning how these things work, you can do a tremendous amount of work. Very recently, over the past few years, people were talking about the $1 million single person business. That was taken care of, a while ago. Now people are talking whether there's going to be a $1 billion single person business. This does not mean there's one guy doing everything, and probably they have a team of contractors or whatever doing things, but a business that is worth, with a market cap of over $1 billion, that was actually created and managed with just one person. And a lot of people are saying that this is very much possible. And these tools, these workflows are what is making this a possibility at the moment. So this is something that I'm very excited about. These also include, all of the tools that you see here have an AI component, right? And you also have pure AI tools like ChatGPT, for example, that you can integrate into those workflows and do almost anything: CRM, content creation, scouring websites for opportunities and jobs. You can scour, job sites. You can automatically scan job sites and create applications, and you can do incredible things. All right. So for me, this is the next frontier. I'm trying to learn how to do these things for myself. So it's a new frontier for me too. Have you tried any of these, Matthew?
No, but actually I've noted down that I want to. So
yeah,
yep, I'll be trying that.
It's new for me too. It's all over LinkedIn. So I'm sorry, it's all over. Yep. Yeah, it's all over LinkedIn. There's companies that provide services like automation services, and there's on YouTube. It's the hottest thing right now. And for freelancers, this is super high value. And this is exactly what freelancers need when they're getting started to multiply their productivity, automate their routine stuff, and get incredible amounts of work done. The cons, of course, here is there's a learning curve. I'm finding that out because it's something that you have to put effort in. And advanced tools can get expensive if you go beyond a certain level. But I think that for companies, that can be an issue. For individual freelancers, not so much, because definitely for the volume that freelancers need, what is there is either free or quite affordable. I mean, if you were able to do that kind of volumes of production, you're definitely going to make a whole lot more than you pay for these tools.
Amazing.
Very simple. If you want to get started, start learning. It's all over YouTube. And there's people, sharing stuff on the automations that they're doing, their templates. They're creating templates and sharing them on LinkedIn. So go in there, look for them. You can find some of the stuff on my profile as well, because I highlight or I like a lot of these automation workflows. So they're all there. One smart thing that freelancers can do is organize and structure your workflows. Understand your workflow. How do you generate a piece of content? Matthew is, he writes articles. How Matthew writes articles, how he does his research, how he does his SEO, keyword, generation, etc. How he structures, etc. The clearer the structure, the easier it is for Matthew, for example, to turn that into an automated workflow, to automate as much of that as possible to get quality results, and you can. And of course, your base data, because a lot of the data, this is more true for companies that have huge amounts of data, like your subscriber list, the information you have on your customers, or I don't know, whatever kind of data that you gather. The higher the quality and the cleaner that data is, the easier it is for automation to work for you very well, and the better the results for you. So that's the secret there.
I guess we have already covered a lot of these, by the way. Before, I would just go over them like quickly. Specializing in a niche market is really important these days, because there are a lot of freelancers in everything. If you're a designer, there are like thousands, maybe millions of designers, and the same thing for every other profession. So you have to specialize in a very specific niche market so you can ask for more money. That's how you can add the value. In my case, for example, I'm talking about two things. I am a content writer in general. You can ask me to write about anything. However, When I want to ask for more, I write about fintech mobile solutions in the Gulf area. That's like in the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Kuwait. So in this specific niche market, I know the target audience, I know that industry, and I can provide very good results. And that's why I started having good reputation as a fintech writer. People would hire me to write about that specific industry. When it comes to writing about travel and digital nomadism in the Caucasus area, that's also a very specific and niche market. It's writing about traveling in the Caucasus, Georgia and Armenia, for example. And this is when even, by the way, international publications started reaching out with some requests like, we want to write an article about traveling in like from Georgia to Armenia. We have this kind of request. Can you do it? The reason they found me is because of specializing into something and the portfolio I have built over that specific specialization. I have built a good portfolio of articles and like recently the magazine, which also becomes my own portfolio, and it works really well. So if you want people to pay you more, you have to specialize in something. By the way, my brother is an architect, and he used to be like just a general architect when he graduated, and then he decided to specialize in something. And nowadays he specializes in designing kiosks for perfume brands from Europe interested in entering the Arabian market in the United Arab Emirates. So how, let's say, small niche that is, because he doesn't focus on international brands, he focuses on medium plus brands like the ones who are now emerging and want to enter other markets. And he's become really successful in what he does. He works now with different clients. He travels all over Europe and he works with them to help them understand the culture in the Emirates and the culture in Saudi Arabia, for example, just because he found that target audience and he knows what they like to see, for example, in a shopping mall, and he knows how to design only for perfume brands. And that's how he built his own career, specializing into something. Can he do something better? Can he, let's say, architect buildings? Maybe yes. But this is what pays him these days. And this is why he's focusing on it. So I would just say try to specialize as much as you can in one thing. For example, I know someone, by the way, who's a content writer specializing in wristwatches. He understands everything about a wristwatch that if you get in a conversation with him, he understands the history of watches, how it works, everyone who's worn like watches, he understands the markets. So when he applies for something, the client knows this value. They can just see it right away, and he gets the job before others, before another very good content writer who's a general one. So I would say just specialize as much as you can, use AI and try to embrace it as like Hagop said. But again, when someone says, can I replace you with AI? Be like, no, I add this, and that value to my work, and this is something AI cannot bring. Hagop, would you like to add on this?
I just like the point before the last one. Look into what AI can't do instead of the opposite. And that is exactly where it is. AI is not really a threat to anyone who's in control of what they're doing. For freelancers who are smart and who understand what it is, what it can do, and what it can't do, it's a career enhancer. It's never a threat. It's those people who are stuck right now in routine work that is easily replaceable and easily automatable with nothing unique to offer. Those are the people who probably should be worried most about AI, because they're easily, their work can be very easily automated. As you saw before, some amazing things that teams do is being automated right now. I mean, the AI, it's not AI, it's just it's a technical thing. It's mostly data integration, essentially, being able to extract data from one place and just put it into another. And these tools are being designed to facilitate that. And yes, if you don't invest in adjusting to what is happening, and yes, there is a likelihood that you may become obsolete. It's not a false threat. No, it's a real threat. But there's also a huge opportunity. It's always like that. New technologies eliminate what is already redundant, what has become unnecessary and redundant for humans to do. But they also they usually create more than what they take out. The same every time it happens. Like the ATM machine was supposed to eliminate bank employees, it doesn't. And there's so many examples of this. They just create more opportunities than they close. So the opportunities are very, very much there. There are new jobs that were unknown 1 year ago, new job profiles, new things. AI trainer is one, for example. I'm actually involved in training an AI system right now. So that is a job, but that is, that was not known 1 year ago, or 2, 3 years ago, I guess, before it became mainstream. So yes, these things are happening. But AI, you don't need to compete against it. And if you're able to leverage it, it can be a huge, huge asset for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's all about how you are going to use it. Do you think you covered these questions, or you want
What types of tasks? Just quickly to go through them, just in case. Almost any task can be automated. Almost there's a lot that can be automated, especially admin related, especially things that are in many ways, routine, repeated. I don't know. Mostly it's the creative. I would say that it's the creative communication part that requires human oversight, especially in the writing aspect. When you're writing, every word counts. That's how I treat the writing that I do. Every word has weight, every word has value, and the AI is not going to give me that. The AI can save me a lot, can give me guidance, but it can't replace. It can't understand the value of every word in a very specific context, and that is where I come in, and that's why that is where kind of AI stops, and I go in there and to make sure that I get what I want. But most admin tasks, admin in the sense that, for example, social media marketing, you already have like social media automation stuff, like when to post and how to post, what to post. You have tools that do these. Think of it more like an extension. So your automation can generate ads for you these days. Can generate. I saw an automation the other day. Those quotes, like quote apps. They had an automation like that to be used for social media, for example. Something silly like that. But there was an automation that generated thousands of them using OpenAI, ChatGPT, and Google Slides, and one or two other tools. So they used Google Slides in order to use the free version, because the enterprise version of Canva, I think it was, they didn't want to use the enterprise version because of features. They just did a trick, and they just went into Google Slides and they did that, and it generates more than 1,000, as many as you need, slides that you can use on social media, if you can imagine that. And that takes 2 minutes. That is, this is the simplest example. There's amazing things that can be done. So yeah. Again, automation, as I said, like examples. I guess I went through a lot of things, like the tools that are available there. So yeah, should we jump to the next slide, guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that. Okay. Lesser known. Well, my answer to this one is that I guess Make.com and the other ones, the Gumloop and A10, are relatively less known these days, except in some circles, like corporate circles, where they're automating things on a mass scale. But I think that freelancers should look at these and look at the opportunities there.
Yeah. And also, talking about automations, if you feel we can move forward, and I can share some insights about our service.
Matthew, do you have any comments on this one?
Sure.
No, actually, I'm new to automation, so I'm going to start like digging into this after the call based on what you just said.
All right.
Yeah, this can be very helpful, and after Jacob's speech, I will also try some new things. But something that I know about native teams that can really help our freelancers is automation, especially for paying your taxes, because it is like pain point for all freelancers, right? We know that we should pay, but how, when? And also it's really a headache to have accountant each quarter, contact him, try to fill out those forms, etc. So what we offer is automated tax and compliance reporting. And it don't only calculate your taxes, it actually pays them for you if you're on the remote work plan. Plus, we have a dedicated team right here in Armenia that ensures everything stays compliant with our local regulations. And also there is an automated invoicing tool. I talked a little bit about invoicing, but I want to also tell that it can be sent automatically every week, every month. So you are setting up the settings. And also we have automated payment processing, which handles all the tricky parts of international payments. And it converts currencies, processes payments quickly, and basically transfers the money straight to your bank account. So those are just a few of automated services that we have. And again, I would recommend everyone who are interested to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes and to talk with our professionals. You can book a call by going to our website. And yeah, who do you feel?
Let me just say that, I mean, looking at all of these things and looking at all the processes that are automated here and all the the bundle of services that you're getting from native teams, I must say that the pricing of the plans is very, very affordable compared to the value that you're getting. It's tremendously affordable. That is personal input there.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is indeed something that one of the things that differentiates us in the market. And also, as I mentioned, we are working in different projects. For example, that benefits project, you will be part of our remote work plan, but you will have so many discounts for local businesses that it basically will get paid off your plan price. So yeah. Do you feel that we should conclude our today's webinar and have some more topics for our next webinar? How your thoughts are?
Possibly. Let's just look at very quickly at the last part,
Yes.
because we promised 5, so let's let's deliver on 5. And the last one, after beyond the automation, when you get that point, beyond which you are not able to handle on your own, that is also a very important transition point for freelancers. I don't have a team, so I can't speak from experience, but it's definitely there's a point beyond which you want to scale, but you're not able to do so on your own, and that is the point where you have to have a team working for you, and that is also there are some very good very strong pros to that, naturally, because it frees up it just frees up a tremendous amount of your time. You reduce workload, and people who run teams, freelancers who transition to managing teams tend to focus more on strategy and growth, because once you take that step, then what you're doing is, you're the captain of the ship, and you've got, all of the other parts of your system doing all the other things. But the strategy and growth are kind of up to you. So, the con for this is essentially that you need to transition to management skills, which sometimes some people can be can find it challenging to do, because when you're a solo freelancer, especially for like a long time, it's not so easy to transition to finding ways to hire people, vet them, find out what whether how good they are, and then manage your relationships with them. Can be challenging sometimes, managing a team of, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, if you're used to doing things on your own. But it's in many ways it's very much worth it, because of how much freedom it gives you, right? Matthew?
I mean, I have nothing to add here, but I just talked about it whenever I want more people, I don't hire them as employees. I would just like tell the client I can bring some more professionals as freelancers.
Right.
This way, I don't have to commit to salaries, and I can get better projects, like bigger ones. I
Right.
always tend to network to find, for example, like people from my industry, SEO professionals, creative designers, web developers, because sometimes the client wants the website to be built and written and designed. So I try to find the people in my network who can do these things. I try to keep good relationships with people, and then I can apply to such projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what I just said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think I can cover this really quickly. And basically, after our motivation, so if you want to expand your team, We also have native company service, which will basically help you set up your UK legal entity. And this gives you greater control over your profit distribution. And most importantly, this allows you to take advantage of lower tax rates. And this will help you basically save more of your hard-earned money. Also, we provide business ABAN. This is something that is highly recommended to use when you're working with international companies. And also,
I've had problems with companies that didn't have IBANs, with banks that didn't have IBANs on their bank accounts.
yeah,
in
exactly.
Armenia.
Yeah. And also we will provide some virtual office address in the UK, and this will add some credibility and prestige to your business. This is something really useful. And finally, we ensure that you stay compliant and financially optimized with our tax advice and guidelines services. So we provide all the necessary reporting documents so you can focus on growing your business.
This can be tremendously important, especially, for example, for like companies like startups, etc., or companies that want to benefit from things that are not available in Armenia. For example, we have issues with Stripe, PayPal, etc., some things that are not available, payment gateways. This can also be a way to circumvent such limitations. So these are for some really seriously, like for companies or freelancers who are ambitious, or companies that are ambitious who want to grow beyond their current environment. So these are tremendously valuable services there.
Yeah, exactly. So in this note, I would like to conclude. We have a couple of questions, but I believe we can cover it in next webinar. And if you loved it, we will definitely continue to have these kind of sessions to give you more information about freelancing and interesting topics. And if you have any topics in mind, please share with us. We'll cover definitely. And yeah, basically, we want to conclude by saying that your energy, your resources are one of the most important things, and it's better to use on what you're doing well, or what you're enjoying to do, developing your personal skills, and not spending hours on administrative work. So Native Teams is here to help you with administrative part. Again, you can talk with your professionals to see how we can help you. Other than that, you can apply Matthew's and Jacob's advices and scale your income, scale your career. And yeah, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Matthew and Jacob, for this amazing and very insightful webinar.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to say 20 years ago, people thought freelancing wasn't real work. And
Yeah.
now it's the coolest lifestyle you can have.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. It was great.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, our attendees, for spending so much time with us. We hope that you gained valuable insights and you will apply it in your careers.
Yeah,
See you
feel
soon.
free to reach out to us through the event, comments on the event page on LinkedIn, or through our personal profiles, whatever works for you. Reach out to us with any questions you have.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you. Bye.
All right. Great.